What you want to say about the baby?
Good time, baby.
She was reported missing on a Monday evening. The call came in just after 8 p.m. A mother's voice, a front yard. A 4-year-old girl named Javeayah Harris, who, according to the story told that night, had simply wandered off. Within hours, more than 200 people were out there looking for her. Deputies, K-9 units, drones sweeping the tree lines, helicopters crossing the county at altitude, the FBI. Multiple agencies, all converging on a neighborhood near Hillsborough Street and Ridgecrest Road in Aiken, South Carolina. For 4 days, this was a missing child case. And then, on the 4th of July, 2026, Aiken County Sheriff Marty Sawyer stepped up to a podium. 36 years in law enforcement. What he said next, he called the hardest announcement he had ever had to make. Javeayah Harris, he said, was dead. She had not wandered off. She had not gotten lost. And according to the evidence his department had gathered, she had been dead for at least a month before her mother dialed 911. Let that settle. The search, the helicopters, the 200 people walking those streets, all of it responding to a story that, investigators believe, was constructed to hide what had already happened. By the time the call came in, it was already too late. The question is, by how much? Javeayah Harris was 4 years old. At 4, the world is enormous and entirely trustworthy. Every person in your house is given. Every adult around you is a constant, like gravity, like daylight. You don't question them. You have no reason to. She had people who loved her. That is not in question. She had a nickname. The people close to her used a small tenderness that signals a child who was called by name, who was someone's everything. There is a home video of Javeayah that surfaced during the investigation. She is talking to the person holding the phone, playful, completely present. There in the way 4-year-olds are, without reservation, without performance. When people watched that video, some noticed something. What appeared to be a mark or a visible injury near her head. It may have an innocent explanation. The video's date is not confirmed. Its formal connection to the investigation has not been established. But people noticed it. They went back and watched again. That is the kind of detail that makes you hope you saw it wrong. Before we go any further, if you're someone who needs to understand why people do the things they do, you're exactly where you should be. This is the Malice Mind. Subscribe if you haven't already. Now, back to Javeayah. Aiken County is not a large community. When the call went out on the evening of June 30th, the response was immediate and genuine. Hundreds of people showed up without being asked twice. That response says something about how people in a place like that think about a missing child. About the assumption, shared by all of them, that everyone inside that home had to want her found just as badly as they did. That assumption, according to investigators, was wrong in the most devastating way imaginable. June 30th, 8:15 in the evening. A call comes in to the Aiken County Sheriff's Office.
Aiken County 911, where's your emergency?
Ma'am, I'm at 39 Hillsborough Street. I can't find my baby.
39 Hillsborough Street?
Yes, ma'am. She was outside playing, and I came out here after cooking dinner a little bit, and I'm looking for her, but I don't see her nowhere.
All right, how old is this baby?
She's 4.
Alright, what was she wearing?
She has on pink Minnie Mouse pajamas, and she had me in pink beads. She had braids.
Is she black, white, or Hispanic?
She's mixed.
Okay, how long ago did you see her, ma'am? When was the last time you saw her?
I just came out here like no less than 20 or 30 minutes ago. I went in the house to cook dinner, and I told her it's time to come in once it starts getting dark. And when I came out here,
just take a breath for me, okay? I already have them on the way to you, okay? Do you know where she might be heading? Okay, you have any family or friends that live around the area?
No, but she usually try to chase our chickens to catch them, and I've been looking through the woods to try to see if I see her, but I don't see her nowhere.
What's your name?
My name is Malice Mind.
What's her name?
Javeayah Harris.
Harris? I couldn't hear the first name.
Javeayah is spelled Javeayah. And I wasn't out here. I'm 39 weeks pregnant. I can't keep up with her like that.
Okay. And what? Anybody else out there with her? Like that was out there with her? Any friends, kids playing with her?
The way our yard is set up, it's nothing but the dogs and the chickens right here at the back.
All right. Does she have any health issues? Any mental issues? Anything like that?
They suspect that she was autistic, but she's just now turning 4, so they don't have no diagnosis all the way.
Okay.
But she's very smart, though. She don't seem autistic.
Does she talk?
Yeah. She can carry a full conversation.
Okay. You didn't see any vehicles before you went inside or anything like that?
No, but what worries me is these crackheads that walk in his house behind the house. I don't know. I've always felt weird about them, and I don't know. Hello?
I'm still here, ma'am. Give me just a second.
My call might be breaking up because of where we at.
Okay. What's a good callback number for you, ma'am?
Ma'am, I don't have one. My phone is not on, but I can still call 911.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Okay. I'm on the way to you. Just to confirm, where was she in the house when you saw her last?
No, she wasn't in the house, ma'am. She been playing outside today. And she asked me, can she play for a little bit more before it got dark, and I said yes. And I literally, her bath water is in the tub, ran, and dinner is cooking, and I came out here to get her, and I can't even find her. Okay,
is there a certain place she likes to play outside?
Usually in the chicken coop, and that's usually where I find her every day, and I just looked in here, and she's not in here.
Okay. Is there any bodies of water nearby?
I don't know, ma'am. Me and my husband just now purchased in this house. I don't know about this area much, but it's not a good area. I'll tell you that. It's not good.
Okay, you say you searched the woods. Is that behind your house?
Yes, it's like a pathway right behind my house. And we usually take the dog sometimes in the woods to just let them run. And she'll come, so I know she knows about the woods. And but I look down the same pathway that we walk, and I do not see her.
Okay, and you said she was wearing pink Minnie Mouse pajamas. Anything else you may be wearing?
Her beads are pink.
Beads are pink?
Yeah, she's got braids. I mean, I don't know if she got on Crocs or with shoes, because she just puts on play shoes, but I don't, ma'am, it's not no way that she could have got far.
All right. Do you have any neighbors around the area that you're familiar with she might be going to?
No, we don't talk to none of these people. None of these people, because they all mostly do drugs. I don't associate myself with that.
Have you checked with neighbors to see if they have seen her?
No, ma'am. I'm literally, like, I called you like 10 minutes after I stepped outside. The cops are pulling up right now.
All right, go ahead and talk to them, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right, no problem.
Hey, how you doing?
Malice Harris, 22 years old, is reporting her daughter missing. Javeayah, she says, was playing in the front yard near a chicken coop. At some point, the yard was empty. She had wandered off. The response was immediate. By the following day, the search had grown to more than 200 personnel, deputies, K-9 units, drones, helicopters, the FBI, SLED, and agencies from multiple surrounding counties. Every available tool was deployed. And during those first days, the case looked exactly like what it had been called: a missing child, a desperate community, a story in which everyone was supposed to be on the same side. On July 2nd, 2 days into the search, local station WRDW reached Javeayah Harris by phone. He was Javeayah's father, 23 years old. He spoke to their reporter. He described his movements on the evening of June 30th with specific detail: stores he had visited, locations he had passed. The sequence of events when he returned home, seeing the police cars, seeing Michelle coming toward him, he said she had been unable to reach him because her phone had no service. So she had called 911 instead. He described his reaction to learning his daughter was gone. He said he kind of freaked out. Investigators were listening. They were already measuring every word against what they were building. 2 days after that interview, on July 4th, Sheriff Sawyer stood in front of cameras and told a packed room what the investigation had determined. Everything this case appeared to be stopped being what it was. The story that had launched 200 people into those streets was not the story. Sheriff Marty Sawyer did not step up to that podium unprepared. 36 years, he had made hard calls before. But this, he said publicly, was different. This was the hardest thing he had ever had to announce. He told the cameras that the investigation and the evidence led his department to believe Javeayah Harris was deceased. He said it was the outcome they had all feared, that the community would have to face it together. And then he said the sentence that restructured the entire case. By the time that 911 call was made on June 30th, he said it was already too late. The investigation supported that she had been deceased for at least a month. At least a month. If investigators are correct, Javeayah Harris was already gone by late May, possibly earlier. For roughly 30 days, the world outside that household had no reason to suspect anything. No one called. No alarm was raised. The machinery of a search, the helicopters, the K-9 units, the federal agents walking the fields, would never have been set in motion at all if that 911 call hadn't come in on June 30th. Think about that. The call did not begin a rescue. The call, according to investigators, was the construction of a false narrative. It launched a search for a child who had no longer been alive for weeks. Those 200 people moving through the neighborhoods near Hillsborough Street were not just looking for a missing child. Without knowing it, they had been placed inside someone else's version of events. A version designed, investigators believe, to make Javeayah's disappearance look recent, accidental, unexplained. The false police report that Herring is charged with filing did not just misdirect the search, it activated it. And it placed both parents squarely inside the visible narrative of grief. They were not distant or absent. They were people with a missing daughter, a posture that, in the early days of a case like this, generates sympathy and deflects suspicion. Meanwhile, the search found nothing, because there was nothing to find in the places they were searching. On July 4th, Sheriff Sawyer mentioned something during the press conference that did not get lost in the wider announcement. His investigators, he said, were actively searching an area of interest. But that area was not in Aiken County. He did not specify where. He didn't need to. The detail that the search had moved beyond county lines told a story on its own. The trail was leading somewhere specific, somewhere that had been identified through evidence, not speculation. He also said additional charges may be forthcoming. There was, throughout all of this, a significant legal complexity. In South Carolina, a homicide can be charged and prosecuted without a body. Evidence alone, cell data, witness accounts, digital records, forensic material can be sufficient to move those charges forward. But the absence of physical remains creates a real evidentiary challenge. Without a body, cause of death cannot be established by autopsy. Without an established cause of death, the defense has a door to argue reasonable doubt. The jury will want to know where she is. That question, without an answer, does not make prosecution impossible, but it makes it harder. What investigators had gathered had to be more than impressions. They were not guessing. They moved with the certainty of people who had looked at the full picture and arrived at one conclusion. Somewhere beyond the county line, the search for Javeayah Harris continued. The case was still not finished, accounting for everyone involved. July 5th, one day after the press conference, Malice Herring and Javeayah Harris appeared before a magistrate judge in Aiken County. Herring faced 2 charges: homicide by child abuse, carrying 20 years to life upon conviction, and filing a false police report a felony, carrying up to 5 years in prison or a $5,000 fine. Because the false report charge was directly tied to the homicide, bond on that charge was also denied. Harris faced a homicide by child abuse charge alone. For both defendants, the magistrate was straightforward. Charges carrying a potential life sentence fall outside this court's jurisdiction to set bond. Both cases would transfer to circuit court, where a circuit court judge would hear them within 30 days. Neither parent left that building free. What the court proceeding also confirmed, Malice Herring had recently given birth to another child. That development drew attention on multiple levels. DSS, the Department of Social Services, was already involved, as is standard procedure when parents of a deceased or harmed child are taken into custody. The new infant would need immediate placement with a caregiver, and the birth itself, depending on its timing, may become a factor in the legal proceedings ahead. Javeayah Harris had given a phone interview to WRDW on July 2nd. Every specific detail he had offered to that reporter, the stores, the locations, the timeline of his movements, was now something investigators could run against verifiable records, cell tower data, surveillance footage, payment timestamps, every claim checkable. Whatever the evidence picture looked like in full, it was enough. Enough to charge 2 people with homicide in the death of a child whose body had not been found. Enough to hold them without bond. Enough for the Aiken County Sheriff's Office, alongside SLED, the FBI, and multiple agencies, to declare this a murder investigation with enough confidence to say so publicly. The sheriff had called it the hardest announcement of his career. And yet he had made it, clearly, without hesitation. Because whatever he knew what the evidence had shown them left no other honest choice. Let's slow down here. Because beyond the investigation, this case presents something that behavioral science and forensic psychology have documented, and it is worth understanding carefully. The first thing analysts tend to examine in a case of child homicide by a caregiver is what researchers call the concealment window, the span between the death and the moment anyone outside the household knew. In this case, that window is, according to investigators, at least 30 days. Sustaining a 30-day concealment means maintaining an outward presentation of a family with an intact, living child, while holding the reality of her death entirely internal. That requires a specific psychological capacity. Forensic psychologists describe it as low affective empathy paired with strong compartmentalization, the ability to separate internal knowledge from external performance, and hold that separation indefinitely. These traits are consistent with characteristics found at the higher end of the PCLR psychopathy measurement, specifically shallow affect and what researchers describe as emotional detachment from consequence. The Falls Police report adds another dimension. Filing a 911 report describing a missing child, knowing what you know, is not a panicked, reactive act. It is a prepared one. A narrative had to be constructed. Specific details had to be chosen. The yard, the chicken coop, the timing of the evening. Those details had to be delivered convincingly enough to launch a large-scale law enforcement response. Behavioral analysts describe this kind of deliberate false statement as instrumental deception, lying not as a stress response, but as a calculated tool to produce a specific outcome, to redirect investigative attention, to delay accountability, to generate sympathy. The false report also placed both parents inside the visible story as grieving participants. Studies of cases where guilty parties join search operations or give media statements have documented this behavior as perception management, an active, deliberate effort to be seen as something other than what they were. The father's phone interview on July 2nd fits within this. The specificity of the account named locations, a precise personal timeline, a particular sequence of what he saw and when reads, in context, as something closer to alibi construction than grief. Behavioral analysts note that when individuals close to a crime give voluntary statements to media, that level of detail often serves a purpose. It creates a framework that can be confirmed, and by being confirmed, becomes harder to challenge. There is also the video of Javeayah. What observers believed they could see in that footage, a mark, an apparent injury, has not been formally confirmed as evidence. The question that follows every case like this one is the same question: who knew what they saw, and why it wasn't enough to stop what happened before it was too late? As of July 2026, Javeayah Harris has not been found. The search continues beyond Aiken County. Malice Mind and Javeayah Harris are pending circuit court proceedings. Additional charges have been signaled as possible. The investigation is still moving and still incomplete. What the courts decide, the evidence will determine. But there is a fact in this case that no verdict will change. For at least 30 days, a 4-year-old girl was gone. And for those 30 days, the world didn't know to look. She had a name people said with warmth. She had a laugh that ended up on a phone screen, caught mid-moment evidence that she was here, that she was known, that she occupied space in the world the way all children do, completely, without conditions. She deserved every year she didn't get. Cases like Javeayah's remind us that behind every headline is a life that existed fully, completely, right up until someone decided it shouldn't. If that thought stays with you, it should. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. And if the Malice Mind is where you come to understand the darkest corners of the human mind, subscribe. We're just getting started.